People are talking about V and Jennie believed to have met up after he was spotted at someone's wedding. We have some people talking about the wedding and specifically what V was doing and just overall his vibe. And then we have a recent live stream that we have to discuss. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Disci, let's get into it. Recently there was a live stream with V, Jin, and JK, and this was kind of a little bit unexpected of a combo, I think. Typically it would be the older members doing the stream with themselves and then the younger member doing the stream with themselves. And sometimes we don't get too many mixes, right? And I think the most common combo we would see would be RM, J-Hope, and Jin. And that's not to say the other combo with V and JK hasn't happened before, but I'm just sort of talking out of my butt right now. Now during this stream, all of them were doing karaoke, and I think they were drinking a little bit. They were just having a little bit of fun. It felt like a little bit of a party for us as the viewers to kind of join in on their little party. Now, there was a point in which JK was organizing the table or putting something on the table and Jin was facing away from the camera. So we saw his backside. Now, JK put something on the table. Specifically, it looked like two somethings. And some people noticed that allegedly both of these things had a nozzle. So a lot of people believe it was a vape. This accusation or belief was further pushed as Jin quickly grabbed both of whatever those things were and rushed it off the table. He was like, it cannot be seen. That's what people believe. Now, the lights were dim in the live stream, so you could barely see much. So most people probably wouldn't have even noticed it if it was there. And of course, at the end there, we don't know exactly what it is even now. He probably could have thought that the table would just look nicer if it was clean and didn't have anything on it other than the cups that they had there. Some people are making a joke saying that JK has been canceled for the 3,000th time this week, and this would be his next cancellation. So Jin was like, we cannot have that. Let's remove this off the table. Now, I can totally understand that logic, and if this was indeed a vape, why Jin would have this reaction. But I'm very confused as to how this is not known. Like, there's been paparazzi photos in which we have seen some of the members smoke. I don't know if it's AI, I don't know if it's Photoshop, but they seem fairly real. But this is just an allegation. I'm just gonna say that. I don't know if they're smokers, but the vaping and smoking is not an illegal thing. And if it indeed was that, why is this such a big deal? And I could be wrong. Perhaps this is what JK was thinking, right? He was like, well, people already know this. What's the big deal? So he didn't even think about not putting it on the table. We also could be at the point in which a lot of the younger members are not really taking as much precaution with trying to hide their authentic self, which seems to be what the controversies are over. People seem to be upset that the boys have very normal human vices of things. And some of the older members might not be as happy with some of the younger members showing those vices. But that's just an opinion or thought. I don't really know what's going on there. And again, we don't know if what was actually on the table was a vape. Now, that was all fun and dandy, and I think for the most part, people were not upset or trying to cancel JK when they believed it was a vape. But I think a lot of people were just joking about it. There's been a lot of conversation with V recently and what he might be up to. He was believed to have been spotted at Kim Woobin's wedding. I think this was a shock to most people, as I think most people were not aware of V being particularly close to Woobin. I don't believe they've been spotted together. He's a model and an actor, and so it definitely was not a surprise that they would cross paths, as V has done some acting in the past. But I think for most people, it was shocked to hear that he attended the wedding, meaning like they must have been very close with each other. There were some people who I guess remained anonymous, but were posting on social media about their attendance at the wedding. It makes perfect sense that there would be people who are not in the entertainment industry that attended the wedding, such as family members or close friends of the bride and the husband. So they noticed V and they mentioned him. They said that they noticed him from afar and he was sitting all together with the actors. And people mentioned that they all looked so beautiful. But V definitely outshined all of the actors. That's what they were saying. And then they were mentioning how V could light up a room and that there was just a very specific energy about him. This is something that I will say I 100% believe, and of course not just because I like him, but because this is the type of stuff that exists for a celebrity to reach the level that they have. A lot of celebrities, definitely not all, but there are some celebrities who do get lucky, and it's quite evident that they did, and they may be able to drag their career on for a few more years and then they pretty much just disappear after that. We're not talking about those people here today. We're talking about those people who have managed to sustain a career for several years and sustain a career at the top for several years. These are people that have star quality. They have something that's very different from everybody else. These are people, if you were to strip everything away from them, money, fame, every connection that they have, they would be able to do it again, because they don't just have this ability to work really hard. They don't just have this ability to be loved by everyone. They have literally everything in the perfect combination that just makes them so amazing to everybody, but also makes them a person who attracts success. And a lot of that is due to first impressions, right? First impressions of the audience, seeing them, new audiences seeing them, how people in the industry determine whether or not they want to work with someone is oftentimes based on that first impression. And this applies to a lot of different industries too, right? Especially if you have to have one that requires a job interview. They're going to determine whether or not they like you based on that first interaction. And sometimes that more than the resume. And for example, V had something and still has something that, for example, was able to get him past the audition stages, and he was able to stand out as an individual within his group. And it was something that made him stand out where brands were even offering to put him on billboards and stuff, right? So yes, I think when someone like him walks into a room, you definitely immediately notice. I've noticed this a little bit more myself too, where sometimes I'll go to a party that maybe a celebrity is there. I won't know the celebrity, nor would I look up who they are or anything, but the moment they walk in, you feel it. And it's not just that there's security with them, because a lot of other influencers and smaller celebrities might come in with security too, but it's just an energy about them. They look really physically good, first of all, and they usually have a glowing presence about them. There's just something about them. They're almost magnetic, and I believe you can develop this skill because it is a skill. But I think most people don't have this, and I think it comes more naturally to those that are A-listers. Now, this next story is going to be a little bit more of a conspiracy and quite interesting, I think. When V left the wedding, there was a bunch of paparazzis and news reporters that were waiting outside, as I assume they were not allowed inside the ceremony or reception. And V got caught holding what was believed to be one of the flowers that was part of the decoration, or perhaps was one of the bouquets that were used to make the wedding. It was then noticed that Jennie was wearing a dress at an award show, people saying on the same day, that had a flower. And people were saying that that dress also looks like a wedding dress. And people were saying that it was quite clear that the bouquet was given to Jennie and that flower was then stitched onto her dress or something like that. With many people saying that it was clear that they might have met that night and that the photos of the bouquet were taken by Dispatch, and so that must mean that Dispatch exposed it. First of all, I want to say it's crazy. Second of all, the flower that V took does not look anything like the flower that was on Jennie's dress. The only thing that was similar was the fact that the flower that V had was white, but also if they were happening simultaneously, like both events, then obviously it would make no sense that Jennie would have the flower on her dress, because those dresses are stitched and made months in advance sometimes, and typically given to Jennie or whichever artist months in advance. And things like stitching or fitting to make sure it fits really well, that's done before the award show. Now, if the fact that he took a white flower is supposed to reference just them dating, like they both just have the same flower, that's ridiculous, because oftentimes these rumors don't specifically clarify what makes them believe that they're dating. They don't explain the proof, it's just being shown. And so it's hard when I look at this to be like, what exactly are you piecing together here? Because they also know the people who make these videos and compilations of these quote evidences, they're like aware that if they were to explain explicitly what it is that they believe is the dating rumor or proof here, that people would call them stupid, because it doesn't make any sense. Now, Jennie wearing a dress is likely just her working with a specific designer. I mean, this wasn't something she just pulled out of her own wardrobe, I doubt. K-pop artists, and we already know this, have stylists that work with them, so her getting a designer and her wearing an outfit would not even be something that would be fully her decision. While an artist is definitely allowed to, for example, look at their face and say, hey, can I have the makeup done a little bit differently? And even then, there's really hard restrictions on what they can and cannot do. I think we know this. That definitely does not apply to a dress. You can't change this, especially if the designer is giving them that dress. That designer would never want to work with that artist ever again, because the designer has a specific look that they want to show off. If the artist comes in and say, I want this and this and this changed, I want this flower design here or whatever, the designer is not going to want to work with that artist again. And so I say this to say that even if she got a flower, she would not be able to put it on the dress. So the evidence here that we are seeing does not make any sense and doesn't prove anything. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you so much for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.